Right. There really is a different life available. It really is a different life than what you've known. It's a life in which you can actually experience real fulfillment, real peace, real happiness, not just the transient things that we call by those names most of the time, not the kind of false comforts and the lies that we tell ourselves when we say, "Oh, I'm so happy." Not that kind of thing, but a real genuine happiness. That's really available. It's available to everybody. It's available to you. Now, there's a phrase that is connected to this. That phrase, maybe some of you will have heard this phrase and some of you will have not heard the phrase, but it will make sense to you in a moment either way. The phrase is this: there's no such thing as a free lunch. Now, if you don't know what that means, think about this. I mean, you ever gone somewhere and they say that there's going to be, well, like there'll be a free gift, free parking, uh, free shipping. You ever got free shipping? Everybody's got free shipping, right? Everybody gets free shipping these days. You expect it. You expect free shipping. You won't even buy something unless it has free shipping. Well, here's the thing. There's no such thing. Did you know that? Did you know there's no such thing as free shipping? There's not, because some way or another, you have to pay for it. Now, how does that connect with what I said at the beginning? Because at the beginning, I said there is a whole other life available to you, a whole other life. It's the life that you've been looking for. It's the life that you really want. But you can't have it unless you're willing to pay the price. Now, I know that's an unpopular notion, but it's the truth, and this is why so many people, in fact, it's the only reason why people don't have the life that they really want, is because they're simply not willing to pay the price. Well, okay, first of all, most people don't even know about it. They don't know of its existence. But and then most people don't know how. But then people are simply not willing to pay the price. So in today's meeting, I'd like to explore some of the various prices that one needs to pay in order to have the life that they really want. So, in order for you to have the life that you really want, there are prices that you must be willing to pay, and we'll explore some of those. It's not necessarily going to be an exhaustive list, but it will give you the general idea, and then I think this will set you up to be able to recognize when there is some price that needs to be paid. So to begin with, see, if you want happiness, there's a basic formula here. If you want happiness, you have to be willing to pay the price of all of your unhappiness. If you want peace, you must be willing to pay the price of everything that you would call other than peace. If you want abundance, you must be willing to pay the price of all of your poverty. Do you understand how this works? Uh, if you want freedom, You must be willing to pay the price of your bondage. Whatever it is that you want, you must be willing to give up whatever is not that. That's the basic formula. Now, it should seem obvious, right? I mean, once it's been said, then it's kind of obvious, right? I mean, is there anybody here that doesn't make sense to? If you want happiness, you have to be willing to give up unhappiness. It seems so obvious. It's like nobody should have to say it. It's so obvious. And yet, it has to be said. Because unless it's pointed out, most of us won't recognize this point. Most of us will continue clinging to our unhappiness and insisting that we should be happy. Oh, I should tell you, by the way, that it's very likely that you will have objections to some of the things that I'll say today. And that's absolutely fine. You get to have the objections, but if you want to have the life that you say you want, then be willing to investigate rather than just believe your objections. That's in general a statement that's worth remembering. If you want the life that you say you want, then don't simply accept the objections that appear in your mind. Because this is how many people block themselves, because they have objections that come up and then they just believe their objections. Now, if you think about it, if you were already completely satisfied with your life, then of course you should continue to believe the same things, right? Because the beliefs that you have are giving you the results that you want. However, if you're not completely satisfied with the life that you're living, then obviously there are some flaws in your thinking. So if you continue to cling to the same beliefs, the same thoughts, and you just accept them without question, then you do not sincerely want what you say you want. Because if you sincerely want the life that you say you want, then you owe it to yourself to question the assumptions, the beliefs that you have, including those beliefs that say, oh, no, I know for sure about this. Because if you knew for sure, then life is just how you've believed it to be, and it can't be otherwise. So give up. But if you still want the life that you say you want, then something has to change. And that something is you. And that's really good news, because you can actually make that change. You can't change the other things, but you can change you. I mean, haven't you noticed that? Haven't you tried to change all the other things? I mean, you try to change your parents, and you try to change your friends, and you try to change your government, and you try to change your children, and you try to change your spouse, and you try to change all of it. And you end up unhappier than you were. So trying to change everything and everyone else is not giving results, but you can make the change to yourself, and then you can experience what it is that you really want, because that's how it works. So now, as I was saying, if you want happiness, then you have to be willing to pay the price of all of your unhappiness. Now, do you see how it is that people block themselves? They say they want happiness, but then just notice, what do they do? You could observe yourself and notice, what do you do? I mean, you say you want happiness, right? You say you want peace. You say you want abundance. You say you want all of these things. But then notice, what is it that you are clinging to? Now, let's just consider for a moment some of the things that you might cling to that would be antithetical to what you want. Now, I already actually pointed one of them out, which was when I was pointing out that if you're wanting to change others, if you're insisting that the circumstances and other people, the conditions, are the cause of your unhappiness or your lack or your imprisonment or your whatever, then that is you clinging to what it is that you need to be willing to pay in order to have what you want. See, if you say, I want to be happy, but I can't be happy because fill in the blank. Fill, fill that in for yourself. You can't, why can't you be happy? What needs to change so that you can be happy? Is it your body needs to change? Or your parents need to change? Maybe the economic system needs to change. Maybe the government needs to change. Maybe the weather needs to change. Maybe God needs to change. You ever done that one? You're like, what's wrong with God? It, I mean, what kind of God would do things this way? So you decided that God needs to change. You see how you do that? You decide everything and everyone else needs to change. That's you clinging to unhappiness. You're saying, I can't let go of this. I can't let go of it. I've got to hold on to it until everything outside of me changes. Only then, only then could I possibly let it go. I can't let go of it now. It would be premature. I'm not ready to be happy yet. See, that's the real truth, isn't it? I mean, I know that that might be uncomfortable, but just notice that it's true. You say, I want to be happy. Well, when do you want to be happy? You say, well, maybe next Thursday. Not now. Because if you really want it now, you could have it now, but you have to be willing to give up the unhappiness. But you just notice you're not yet willing to do that for all of those. You said, well, I got these problems, these other people, these circumstances, all these things. I can't be happy. We can do this with anything, right? So you say, well, I want to be abundant. You want to be abundant. I know many of you want to be abundant. You're like, show me the money. And then you just look and see, what do you do? I mean, when do you want the abundance? You say you want it now, but you're not willing to give up the poverty yet because you're still saying, well, I mean, it's not my fault. It's the economic system. It's the government. It's corporations. It's my parents. It's the circumstances I was born into. It's because it was my teachers. If only I had gotten a better education. If only I had gotten, it's bad luck. Whatever it is, it's something outside of you, and you say, I'd like to, but I can't. I can't. I got to hold on to this stuff. Have to hold on to it. When are you gonna give it up? You don't actually really have a plan for that. because that's the price of admission. That is the price of admission. So now, that's kind of broad strokes. Do you, do you notice how cheery this is? This is very cheery. This is a very wonderful message. Because notice, this means that you are empowered. All you have to do is be willing to give up what it is that you don't want. You want peace, give up the fear. And you say, I can't give up the fear. I mean, now I can't do that because why? Take a look, do an inventory. Why can't you give up the fear? Stuff outside of you, isn't it? It's because of, same old stuff, because of, bad people, because of governments, because of, natural disasters. So even nature's against you, you know, because of whatever reason, because I could drop dead at any moment from a heart attack. So you're saying, on the one hand, you want peace. Is there anybody here who does not want peace? Would you please let me know? Nobody's saying anything yet. So is it safe to say then everybody here wants peace? Is there anybody here who does not want happiness? Is there anybody here who does not want abundance? Is there anybody here who does not want freedom? So you want peace. You have to be willing to pay the price of fear, but you cling to the fear. Do you see that? And and you say, why do you cling to the fear? Just notice. Just look within yourself and notice. Ask yourself, why am I clinging to this fear? Why have I been unwilling to give it up? You're waiting for something outside of you to change. When suddenly the 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 state of reality is such that the law of the universe is that nobody ever does anything bad. And there are no natural disasters, and nobody ever dies, and nobody ever gets hurt. Then you say, well, then I think maybe I'd be willing to give it up. Isn't that true? So you're you want peace. In order to have peace, you have to be willing to pay the price of the fear. Does that make sense? Is there anybody here who does not understand that? I mean, it's a basic mathematical reality. So you want peace. You must be willing to pay the price of the fear that you hold. But you say, I can't let go of the fear because of outer conditions and circumstances. And so on it goes with every quality that you want. You want freedom, you want abundance, you want happiness, you want all of these things. And yet, with each one, the price you're not willing to pay only because you say outer circumstances prevent you. Does it start to make sense why you feel the way you feel so often? So powerless. It's because you have given away your power. I mean, this is good news. This is really, really, really good news. This is the best news that I know of. I'm just checking to make sure. It's maybe as long as it's the same news as the other news that I'm thinking that might be better, it's the best news. It's in the top two or three best news, and maybe it's the same best news. Because this means that you hold the key. It's just due to wrong thinking that you have put yourself into this position. Now, let's just review or think about some other prices that maybe need to be paid. And they all basically fall under the same broad category, but it's just useful to think about some of these in a little bit of detail. So, resentments. You have to be willing to pay the price of all of your resentments. In order to have the life that you want, you have to be willing to pay the price of all of your resentments. You have to be. Now, think about this for a moment. I mean, why do you want to hold on to those resentments? What is so wonderful about them that you cling to them for dear life and you say, nobody will take these from me. They will, you won't even be able to pry them from my cold, dead hands. I'm going to hold on to these resentments. Can you notice how painful it is to hold on to those resentments? I don't care what the people did. Why do you want to hold on to them now? Now, remember what I said about how some people are not going to like this. Some people are going to be very uncomfortable with this. And their minds are going to come up with objections. They're going to say, no, 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 no. Now that, Joey, you're being very insensitive. Some of these resentments were well earned and must be held on to. For what? Really? What good is it doing you? And what harm is it doing to you? It's preventing you from having the life that you want. So, resentments. If it's like when it's sort of like when you go, it's like when you go through the security gate at the airport. I mean, like you got to give up some stuff. They're not going to let you on the plane with some things. But you still think, I mean, it's just how we have been conditioned because hardly anybody knows this. And so many people are glorifying holding on to the very things that hurt them, the very things that prevent them from having the life that they really want. And so there's a lot of confusion around this. But you can actually look within yourself and notice the truth of this, that holding on to resentments does you no good at all. It's just a painful burden. It's self-harm, and it prevents you from having the life that you want. You might say, well, that's not fair. It's not fair. Life shouldn't be like that. So right back to, what kind of God would create a universe like this? What kind of God would create a universe that would bar me from having happiness while clinging to my unhappiness? I should, I demand my rights. I should be able to hold on to my resentments and still have peace. This is the insanity that we're doing to ourselves. So resentments, guilt. You got to be willing to pay the price of guilt. You've got to be willing to give it up. People say, well, wait a second. Now, what? Now, what's wrong with me having some guilt? What and why is it any of your business, Joey, whether I have guilt? It's none of my business. I'm just giving I'm just giving you some information that can help you. Just test it out. Just try this, try this. Just bring up some guilt. I mean, think about some terrible thing that you've done that you just, oh yeah, oh, so guilty, so bad, so awful. Just get that feeling, that guilt. How happy are you? And while you're holding on to that guilt, how happy are you? How free are you? You see how it works? As long as you're holding on to it, you can't have the life that you want. So we've got resentments, guilt, shame. Need I say more? People want to tell you how to do it. You want me to tell you how to do? Okay, I wasn't going to do that, but I will. Hold on. Let's review that. Let's just make sure that we all understand what it is that we're dealing with first, because that is 99% of it. Until you understand the problem, you can't solve it. I mean, think about this. You've been trying to solve this very problem your whole life, but it was hopeless until you actually understood the real nature of the problem. Because if you're trying to solve the problem in the wrong way with the wrong understanding, you'll never succeed. So the first most important thing is to understand the actual problem itself. So, I mean, I've talked about this one recently, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Insisting on being right. You have to be willing to give that one up. If you want to be happy, because just notice, I mean, with all of these things, you don't have to take my word, just test it out. Just notice. I mean, is there something you want to argue with me about right now? You want to tell me that you're right and I'm wrong? Or if can you imagine some situation in which there's something, you want to let them know how right you are. Maybe some political issue. There are those people who are just, you're so certain that you're right and they're wrong, and you want them to know it. You want them to change their minds. You want them to say, "Oh, hallelujah. Thank you for showing me the light. Now I understand. You are so right. I was so wrong." You have to be willing to give that up. Because just notice when you're doing that to yourself, I'm right. They have to know that I'm right. What is that freedom? It is not. You want freedom, you have to be willing to give that up. Is that happiness? It is not. If you want happiness, you have to be willing to give that up. Closely related. Also a topic that I've talked about recently, but worth mentioning, another price to pay is the is sticking your nose in other people's business. I mean, when you are concerning yourself, Think about this. Think about the insanity of this. You have not you haven't even sorted out but a tiny fraction of your own business, and then you're going to stick your nose in somebody else's business? I mean, that's just crazy. If you want happiness, you have to be willing to pay the price, give that up. It's just not worth it. That's the point with all this stuff is notice that it is self-harm. Notice that it hurts. It hurts you. Okay, now let's see if there are some other things that come to mind. So self-righteousness. It's very closely related to being right. But I mean, can you notice any of this concern for yourself and your social standing and all the rest of it? You know, what do other people think of me? Vanity, just concern about other people's opinions. Here's one. The insistence that the life that you truly want is not already here. You have to be willing to give that one up. That's a tough one. I mean, just notice, isn't that true? Your whole way of being and thinking in life is such that that's the underlying assumption is that the life that I want is not here. It's just the underlying assumption. It's so uh, pervasive. You barely even notice it. You mistake that for reality. You just think, oh, the life that I want isn't here. This isn't it. If you want the life that you want, you definitely have to be willing to give that up. I could go on. I think many of these would just be variations on a theme. I hope that you get the idea. Again, just to review, the basic overarching formula here is that in order to have what you want, you have to be willing to pay the price of giving up whatever it is that you're clinging to that is an opposition to what you want. And the world is presently organized in such a way that the world will insist that you must continue to do things the way that you have always done them, because that's the way of this world. And if you were to do something different, then everybody else might feel uncomfortable. So the world says, just keep doing things the same way. Just conform. Just just keep crossing your fingers and hoping that someday your happiness will magically come to you without you having to change. So you have to understand that there will be resistance to this. See, the whole world is going the opposite direction. They're going to be insisting, what are you doing? This is madness. You can't turn around. You can't go the opposite direction of us. You must come along with us. It's very, very important. I mean, if you don't come along with us, then you might perish. And if you insist and you say, well, I'm committed to going this way because I'm convinced that this way is the way of sanity, the world then will show you, that it will remove its mask and you'll see that snarling face and they'll say, you come with us or else. And it's up to you because you have the choice. Remember what I said, if you want peace, you have to be willing to give up the price of fear. Don't concern yourself. Don't concern yourself with any of it. It's not worth it. Just notice that. Just notice that. It's the truth. It's not worth it. You have been lied to. You were told that happiness was found in completely the opposite direction of where it lies, because it lies at the heart of you. And you've been taught to look outside. You've been taught to look everywhere else, everywhere and anywhere, in desperation. Is it any wonder why you would become depressed and anxious? Because you've looked everywhere and the world keeps insisting, keep looking, it's out there. And you really have looked. You've looked and looked and looked, and you know it's not found out there. It's not found. And you start to, at a certain point, think maybe it can't be found at all. But it is findable. It's findable when you're willing to pay the price. When you're willing to pay the price, suddenly it's revealed. It's at once, it's the easiest thing and the hardest thing. It's the easiest thing because it require all you have to do is simply nothing. You see, all the rest of it involves so much effort, so much strain. You have to be going here and there, looking for it everywhere. Out there, you have to fly around the world. Where is it? Is it here? Is it there? Try this job, this marriage, that marriage, all these different things. So this is completely free of all of that effort because you don't do anything. You don't do anything. So in that sense, it's the easiest thing. On the other hand, the most difficult thing, because as I said, the world is insisting you must, you have to, you have, if you don't get angry with us, we'll get angry with you. That's the way of the world. You have to get angry with us or we'll get angry with you. There's such a strong impulse to keep looking out there, to keep giving away your power, to keep insisting, I have to, I have to get the outer circumstances and conditions just right before I can have the life that I want. have to. That's the very, very, very strong conditioning. That's the hard part because the, to inhibit that impulse to harm yourself in the name of progress. It's always in the name of progress. I'm doing something. I'm working. I'm fixing things. I'm trying. I'm going somewhere. I'm getting something. I'm I'm this is for a good cause. I have to. It's always there. I have to, I have to, I have to. That's so strong. So to inhibit that is the most difficult thing. So it's the easiest and the most difficult. Now, somebody wanted to know how does one do this? So what this requires, the key, the key thing is to be aware of yourself. Now, most people, and this is shocking to discover, when if you might have discovered this already, and if so, you'll know just how shocking this is, how shocking it is to discover that you were asleep and you thought you were awake. So you, as long as you're asleep, I mean, you think about this, when you're dreaming, then what hope is there for you in that? You see, that dream has completely taken you over, but you remain asleep because you think you're awake. Isn't that true? I mean, just notice in the dream, you're not you're not thinking I'm asleep, because if you thought you were asleep, you would instantly wake up. Instead, you think I'm awake. I'm doing these things, you think. I'm going places, I'm doing things. I'm having these dramas. That's what you think. That's why you stay asleep. The instant you realize that you're asleep, that's when you wake up. And it's the same here. This is, in that sense, no different than a dream, because you think you're awake, but actually you're asleep. So that's the key ingredient, is to actually be aware of yourself. Now, some of you might say, well, how do I do that? Well, let's explore it right now. So just notice everything that's happening, everything that you can be aware of. So there are maybe things that you can see, things that you can hear, things that you can feel. You might distinguish between inner phenomena and outer phenomena. That distinction aside, though, notice that all of the things that you're aware of are actually happening just as they would in a dream. So this habit of thinking of yourself in a particular way is no different than thinking of yourself in a particular way as a character in a dream. So you could notice that you've been asleep, mistaking yourself to be a character in a dream. And in that moment of that recognition, there's wakefulness, there's a awareness of yourself. Now, with that awareness of yourself, you might notice there's a little bit more space. You might notice that there's a there's a thought that says, this is mine. This is my body. This is my life. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings, my sensations, my emotions. It's a thought. So you could notice that there's a thought that says, this is mine. Now, if you're not aware of yourself, then you miss that entirely. You don't recognize that there's space. You don't recognize that there's a thought that says, this is mine. You mistake yourself to be something that has these experiences that this belongs to. But as you're aware of yourself, you can recognize these are just thoughts. These are just movements of mind. So you can start to notice that all these thoughts, the feelings and the sensations and all the rest of it, these movements of mind, they produce this drama and gives rise to this sense of, I have to be angry. I have to do this. I have to be resentful. I have to be worried. I have to be fearful. And you can just notice, though, as you're aware of yourself, you could ask the question, is that true? I mean, really, who, who needs to be fearful? Who needs to be worried? At first, maybe the answer is, well, I do. I mean, what do you mean? It's a stupid question. Of course, I have to be worried. I have to be concerned. But you could just notice, well, that's another thought. I have to be. I do. But what do you want? Do you want freedom? Do you want peace? Do you want happiness? If you do, then just keep noticing, keep observing. Notice you've been enslaved by these thoughts, but you were never enslaved at all. It was all an illusion. You, there was an illusion of being enslaved due to believing that these thoughts had something to do with you. By just having this little bit of self-awareness, you can begin to question, you know, that you just notice. And remember what I said, if you are sincere in wanting the life that you say you want, then you owe it to yourself to actually question the beliefs and assumptions. Many people will stop short. Many people will decide that their thoughts are the truth, that their thoughts are the final authority on reality. And they'll just go no further. They'll say, this is crazy. It's crazy. The idea that I could give up fear, it's crazy. It's not possible to give up fear because they'll say, because my thoughts told me so. My thoughts told me that I have to be fearful. Because why? Because I am this body, and this body could be harmed because I've got ideas of bodies being harmed. And since I am this body and I have ideas of bodies being harmed, I have to be afraid. And they'll say, that logic is irrefutable, case closed, done. I cling to my suffering. And there's nothing to be done for it. That's a choice. And that's why I again and again say having clarity about what you want is so important. Because if you don't have clarity about what you want, then it's so easy to just fall back asleep into the old habits, the old identities, the old suffering, and just say, nothing could be done. It's just how life is. It's God's fault. If God would listen to me, then things would be better. But unfortunately, it's just a cruel universe of suffering that I just have to endure until my inevitable death. But I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope that I win the lottery just to ease the suffering. So the truly, in my view, cheery news is that just as I said, this life is available to you. The life that you truly want is available to you. It's available to you now. It's at no distance. You don't have to go somewhere else. You really don't. In fact, you have to stop going somewhere else. You have to be willing to actually be here. And all that's required is that you give up everything. It's very worth it. If you give up everything, you get nothing in return. It's the best possible trade because you don't need anything. What you really desire, all the even greater than the happiness and the peace and the abundance that you have dreamed of up to now, even greater than that, is already here. You just have to be willing to give up everything that opposes it. So that's what I wanted to say, give or take. For those who are here live, we'll stay on for the group coaching that will start in just a few minutes. For those who will watch this on YouTube, if you're interested in joining these meetings live, which would allow you to also participate in the group coaching sessions, you can get that information by going to my website at joeylott.com. There's an opportunity there to sign up for a free ebook that covers 5 of the fundamental laws that govern creation. And when you do so, you'll also get emailed the information for how to join these meetings live. I also want to mention that I have recently opened up some more spots for free introductory sessions. So for those who are interested in that, you can get that information at joeylott.com/intro. I'll leave those links in the description. And that's all for now. So blessings to you and bye for now.